Grab yourself a glass of water, grab yourself a glass of juice, relax and enjoy. Now the date is 24th of June, the year 1982. The British Airways Boeing 747 Flight 009 is about to take off from London all the way to Auckland in the farthest. Remember, Auckland is the farthest that if the sun rises, or even in the years of the calendar, they celebrate them first before us. Now, this flight has got different destination. The first destination is Mumbai, India. The second destination is Indonesia. The third destination is Peru. The fourth destination is Melbourne. And then the fifth and the last destination is Auckland. Passengers are on the cabin. Everything is set. No panic. Our cockpit, we have three people with us. We have the co-pilot, his assistant, and then we have the engineer. Now, the flight attendant announces that our plane is about to take off. Everyone gets steady, nothing, no panic, everything is set. Now the plane takes off. It goes and lands in its first destination, that is Mumbai, India. It takes a little bit of time. Passengers get out of board, and some passengers come on board. Now the flight takes off again and lands in Indonesia. In Indonesia, passengers as normal as usual, people get out, and then more passengers come on board. Now we are having over 100 of passengers on board. Remember Boeing 747, it's loved because you remember 1982, if there was such a plane, then everyone is really lucky and willing to board this plane. And therefore, it is praised as the queen of the air. Now in Indonesia, the flight takes off again. It takes 2 hours flight until something hits on the plane. There's still no panic because passengers notice there is a blue glow fire in one of the wings. Now remember, Boeing 747 has got 4 wings, or we can say 4 engines, 2 on the left and then 2 on the right. There's no pressure even if they see a blue glow on the first wing, on the fourth wing out of the 4 wings. Now our engineer gets out of the cockpit, comes to the cabin, checks and sees the blue glow of the light on that wing, and then he notices there is smoke, and smoke from outside flowing, the smoke flowing, and then there's a smell of sulfur getting into the cabin. Now they're wondering, what is this? Now what goes back to the cockpit? What do? The normal routine, they have to shut down that wing, that engine, the 4th engine, and then release the fire extinguisher so that it stops. If there is any fire that might light up, then the fire extinguisher will stop it. There is no worry. Boeing 747 has got 4 engines. Now when one goes off, we still have 3 to go. There is no pressure. Everything is standstill. The plane continues to move. In a while, the second engine got hit. Fire, flames. Now it's a real flame. Now it's the real fire. You see how the real fire is, the yellowish part. Now the passenger sees that too. What do? It's Boeing 747 Flight 009. No pressure. We are still left with 2 engines to fly. What do? They switch off the engine, block the fuel that goes towards that engine, and then they release the fire extinguisher. Now in the process of releasing the fire extinguisher, the remaining 2 engines also catches fire. Now what do? Panic gets in to the passengers, not to our pilots but to our passengers. They automatically see all our engines are on fire and it flames. What do the pilots do? Quick decision. As always and as usual, cut off the fuel that goes to the engines, switch off the engines, and then release the fire extinguisher. Now all the engines are gone. There is no power supply in the aeroplane. Now this is where now decisions are supposed to be made. and panic gets into the passengers. Remember, the plane is at a 37,000 feet height. They're flying at 37,000 feet. That's a very high altitude. Now, there is no operations of engines inside the aeroplane because all our engines are dead. And now, when you are inside the aeroplane, there is always that sound that you can never miss to listen to, the sound of the engines. The sound of the engines. The passengers realize there's no sound of any engine, it's just wind. It's just the wind. Panic. Now, obvious, without the engines moving, there will be lack of pressurization. This pressurization is what brings oxygen into the cabin so that the passengers can get air to breathe. Now, it won't take so long before that suffocation will begin. Now, what do people do? They decide that everyone should pull off their mask. But before everyone pulls off their mask, remember, all the engines have shut down. Now the pilot has to make a decision. And what's the decision? Which is our nearest landing airport? And the nearest landing airport is back where they left Indonesia, and that is Alema International Airport in Jakarta. Now they decide and try their best and make a turn of the aeroplane to fly back to Alema International Airport, Jakarta. Now in this process, they ask everybody to release their masks so that they get a bit of the oxygen so they don't suffocate. Now in the process of removing their mask, everybody is successful in removing their masks. But now our assistant pilot tries to remove their mask, and then the mask separates from the pipe that releases oxygen to them. Now panic enters the co-pilot. What does he do? If he flies high, he will land safely in international Jakarta, but his assistant will have died because of suffocation. If he goes down, his assistant pilot will get some help, and then maybe they can make decisions, but they are not 100% sure if the aeroplane won't crash and the passengers will die. Now in this case, Captain Moody decides to help his crew. He chooses his crew over 100 of passengers because he sees that if he helps his assistant, it will be easier to maneuver ways because with the two minds, they are okay. So he decides to take the aeroplane down to the feet where his crew will have that oxygen to breathe. The flight goes down and it reaches the point where now his crew, his assistant, can get the air to breathe. But even before things get well, he notices something. Remember, in Indonesia, it's a lot of mountainous regions. They realize they're on the mountains. Now, if they fly too low, what will happen? The aeroplane will crash on the mountains. Now, what do? Let's prepare for the ocean landing. That's the next judgment that they make. But they come to realize that Boeing 747, in all years that it has been flying, it has never been recorded that it was landed in an ocean. They ask themselves, if we land this plane in an ocean, how long will it take the crew to come and save these passengers? And it has never been recorded that Boeing 747 has ever landed on the ocean. So we will be the first people on the World Book of Record that landed Boeing 747 on the plane. Now something comes into their minds. Captain Moody says, let's try starting the engines. Now he starts, he presses engine 4. It lights up. Then the next engine lights up. Then the next engine lights, and then the next engine lights. Then they decide to take the higher altitude again. If they take the higher altitude to pass the mountain, they realize again that the engines goes off. Now Captain Moody says, he realized something. If we go to the higher altitudes, the engines goes off. If we come back to lower altitudes, the engines continue working. Now what do? They come to a lower altitude to fly so that the passengers might get a safe landing and they might reach near Jakarta. Remember, the speed of the aeroplane is at 1,000 km per hour. 1,000 kph. That's a very fast speed. And remember, Boeing 747, for every 15 kilometers it goes ahead, it loses 1 kilometer in height. It comes down. In every 15 kilometers it goes ahead, it covers ahead, it loses 1 kilometer down. You see that? Now remember, at a speed of 1,000 km per hour, it won't take too long before this plane crashes down. Now they decide, we are going to fly in this altitude, and then we are going to try our best and see if we can land. Remember, I forgot something. At the point of turning the plane, they try to contact the ATC, the headquarters in Jakarta, and inform them that all their 4 engines have gone off. Now they contact ATC in Jakarta and inform them, we don't have any engines left, our 4 engines are dead. Now the headquarters in Jakarta don't hear this properly. They say, if your 4th engine is the one that has already been missed, then there's nothing to worry about. You still have the 3 engines. It is Boeing 747. Now remember, when planes are moving in closer ranges with different planes, they will always listen to the communication of other planes. I don't know how the engineers or how the planes were made. Now it takes another pilot of another aeroplane to listen to this information and contact the center in Jakarta and inform them what they're trying to say is all their engines are dead. Now the headquarters in Jakarta contact Boeing 747 British Airways Flight 009 that we are preparing the landing safe for you. Let's go. We are at a point where now the engines are starting off at lower altitudes, but now if you go to higher altitudes, the engines go off. Everyone is safe, everyone is on their masks. The pilots are trying to maneuver ways so that they have a safe landing for their passengers. Remember, now everything is clear in Jakarta headquarters, and now they're proceeding to see if they will reach their landing. To see if they will reach their landing place. Now what next? The plane continues at such a speed, the engines are on, and that is a miracle. They still don't know what's wrong with this plane. Something hits. The windscreen gets shielded. Remember, there were some smokes that were coming out by that time. Now they can't see the front clearly. Now they ask the ATC, the headquarters of Jakarta, can we use the systems, the automatic systems of landing? But to no avail. That day is when the automatic systems of landing in Jakarta were under maintenance, so they can't use that. And these pilots, they can't see the front side of where they are going to land. The runway is clear, but they can't see it properly. Now what do they have to do? They have to do now everything manually inside here where they are. And they also have to check the altitudes manually here where they are. Now a miracle happens. At least they can see something. You see, you can't open the windows to see, but at least they see there is a small space remaining where one of his co-pilots can see through, and then they check the altitudes and now release them. So he will be checking the altitudes, telling him reduce, and he will be reducing. Now they take that alternation and then they begin. Now the co-pilot checks the altitudes and said it's at 500. The pilot reduces. At 400, the pilot reduces. At 300, the pilot reduces. At 200, the pilot reduces. And then at 50, the plane catches the land. Tap! It lands down. The passengers are relaxed. Everyone is saying, oh, oh. The pilots do not take time to even move on the runway. They try their best, hold the aeroplane, and it stops. Everyone is gotten out in the cabin. Everyone is safe. Everybody is safe. No one is hurt. And it makes a history that Boeing 747, all the engines were dead. And they came back and landed safe. Now, in our story of today, what do we learn? We learn about courage. What do we learn again? We learn about making decisions in a quicker way. It's really necessary for the pilots to be in rush and good decisions when such incidents occur. Now you see the Boeing 747, they were courageous, there was no raise of alarm, they were well composed, and everything happened well, and they landed safely. Now, what was causing our aeroplane to have all these issues? Now, the engineers get inside, the aeroplane is gotten out and taken to the engineer's side, and then they begin to confirm what was happening. Oh, what happened? The aeroplane was around Java, and this specific day, June 24th, in 1992, a volcanic eruption happened in Java. There was eruption of volcano, and when there is eruption of volcano, smoke tends to go to the sky. Now, when they go to the sky, they tend to make a surface. So remember, when the aeroplane came, it didn't know that there was a volcano that happened in Java area, the area of Java. Now, when this eruption happened, there was a layer that was formed. Now, when the aeroplane came with that speed of 1,000 kilometer per hour, it hit this thing inside, and then there was the color of the plane, the how do you call it? Uh, Painting, the paint of the plane was becoming too shiny. That's what was being seen by the engineers. So this eruption happened, and then it formed this, and then the sulfur things on the surface, and that is what caused this plane all this. Remember, the sulfur, if it melts, it will bring the clot in the engine, and then the engine will go off. But now, what was happening while the engine was starting to light up again? It's because at lower altitudes and there were no engines that were functioning, those droplets of the stones got out of the engine because of the wind that was blowing. And now, when they started it, it could start again. Now, when they go to the higher heights again, where this volcanic eruption had happened, it melts into the engines, and then the engines again goes off. Now, when they come to lower altitudes, everything, and then the engine starts up again. Now, it's found out that the volcanic eruption caused all this, and then it was not all about that. There was a problem with the engines. Now, Boeing 747 is corrected, painted again, and goes back to its normal routine. And it makes a history that it never killed anyone, and it never erupted anything or caused any form of alarm. What? That's the end of our story today. If you have watched to this point, your storyteller was Cheris, a father of one. Why? Why don't you subscribe to this channel? Keep watching. We are coming with more stories of flights and airways. Thank you so much, and bye bye. Till we meet again in the next episode, and that will be on a Monday. Bye bye.